It is time once again to get solar powered. We welcome you back to another episode 101 of the Solar Powered Podcast. I'm Ryan Hall from Whale Hearts Media, and I think we've got a really fascinating guest here today. His name is Jeremy Eads. Now, I have spoken about Jeremy and maybe some live videos that I've done in previous incarnations as somebody who has just a prodigious writing output. We'll certainly get into that here in a bit, but he's the author of a brand new book that is releasing today. We're releasing this podcast on Friday, July 28th. He's got a brand new book called The Lodge, and we're going to talk about that, talk about his background, his story, and just how we both wound up to be storytellers. And it's truly a privilege to welcome my good friend Jeremy Eads to the Solar Powered Podcast. Welcome to the program, brother.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Absolutely. Well, first, I guess just kind of share a little bit about just your background. You've got quite the fascinating resume, my friend.
Well, it's a lifetime of falling on my face, really.
Thank you. Tip your bartenders.
Yeah. It just, one thing doesn't work out, you try something else. You get back up, you keep going. With the military, I did that for several years and eventually decided that it wasn't really for me. I just I'm proud of my service, and I'm certainly proud of the people I served with. But it's a life that demands a lot from me, and I wanted a little bit more than what the Army could give me.
Sure.
But they helped me tremendously. They really did. They got me on my feet. Because of the Army, I got my education. I got my bachelor's in software engineering. I took it seriously. The Army did a lot of good for me, a lot of focus, a lot of discipline, and I think that they're good for that. If maybe you're kind of floating around and you're not sure what you're going to do with your life, which is where I was. I was living in Oregon at the time, washing windows in the Oregon rain. Talk about exercise and futility, my friend. Washing windows in the rain is about as bad as it gets.
I can only imagine.
I looked up and saw the recruiter and thought, aha, there we go. The light shone down and they got me moving. And I'm grateful for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine a younger you washing windows in a driving rainstorm and just being about ready to run your fist through one of those windows.
Oh man, what was a lot of fun was being up on top of an 18-foot ladder with a 30-foot pole trying to clean a 17-inch transom. Oh yeah, oh man. Or you might get up there and find a good sized wasp nest that you got to grab and crush and throw away before the bees get onto you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Contrary to popular belief, they're not just in the South, y'all.
No, they're all over the place. They got bad attitudes no matter where they're at.
Yeah, they're pissed off no matter how you look at them.
In Virginia, where I'm at now, we've got the bald face, we've got the yellow jackets, and we've got these gigantic, I call them bill hornets. I've heard them called bill hornets. You find them like down by the lakes. They're enormous.
Interesting.
I wish I had a picture of one. I'd show it to you. But they're, a good 4 or 5 inches long.
All this talk about bugs, no wonder you became a horror writer. My gosh.
Yeah, well, I write about things that make me uncomfortable, and wasps absolutely make me uncomfortable.
I can only imagine.
I figure if it bothers me, it's probably going to bother somebody else out there, and uh, we just have fun with it.
There you go. There you go. Well, we'll certainly get more into your writing background here as we go on with this conversation. Um, do you have any favorite stories from your military days? Stuff that you can share, obviously. But do you have any stories, some anecdotes that you can share that maybe sort of set you up for the storyteller, for the writer that you have become?
Well, I mean, that actually goes back a lot further than the Army. Uh, I was first published at 6 years old. I wrote a story for a friend of mine, and God, it must have been first or second grade. But I wrote a story for him, and I illustrated it. Super Teddy and the Demon Devil. And my
Okay.
mother was the editor of a local magazine, and she wouldn't let me give the book to him, which completely, made me mad. But she took the book and kept it, and then she printed it in the magazine that she was an editor at. And she'll tell you that she knew then that I was going to be a writer. But I've been writing stories all my life. Yeah, I mean that's something I've always done. Not until really when you and I met back in 2018. That's about when I started getting serious about selling the stories. And so I got to thinking like, wow, I can really do something with this. I mean, I got a really positive response from the Writers Hotel, if you remember.
I remember them well, yes.
And Scott and Shannon are fabulous. They're just fabulous. Love them so much. But with their encouragement and tough love, figure out, hey, I could make something happen here if I knuckle down and work on it. And that's what I've been doing. Trying to get this thing off the ground.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, talking about the Hotel, Scott Woven and Shannon McNair, really two of my favorite human beings that I've met in the past few years. They were incredibly supportive to me, even when I walked into that room, absolutely scared to death. But they were incredibly supportive of me, and I've ended up meeting meeting yourself as well as several very dear friends of mine and incredibly gifted writers and storytellers to this day. So I'm definitely grateful that that was put into my life at that time. Again, even though I was scared to death.
I'm right there. That was my first time ever being in New York. So
That's right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a Southern boy, and New York is just a whole nother animal.
Well, you're telling me.
But I gotta say this though. I gotta put this out there. There's folks out there that have the stereotype about New Yorkers, about they're mean, they're nasty, they're cold, I never once ran into anything like that with any of the New Yorkers I came in contact with. They were kind. When I was wandering around lost, they gave me directions. They were good to me. I don't have enough good things to say about folks in New York City. I mean, they were just fantastic. Nothing like the stereotype I was expecting. Nothing.
Yeah. I totally feel you on that. I remember the first time I ever went to New York City. This would have been in the summer of 2015, I think it was, that I just came on a visit. And I was in Brooklyn and was just hopelessly lost. My phone was dead. Could not find this one subway station to save my life. I stopped this one young man who I think was a host at one of the restaurants in Brooklyn, asked him where to find it. He pointed me right there. Never had any kind of issues, never had any kind of stuff like that. It's definitely, you're right on point with that.
You know, I was not prepared for how fast everybody moves in New York, how fast the walking speed is, because I don't move that quick, you know.
Yeah.
And they were just asked. So I was, doing my best trying to keep up with the flow of traffic and not, you know, being too much of an obstruction. And I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I went staggering into this restaurant just to get out of the flow of traffic. And the hostess there looked at me. She was like, "Oh my God, let me get you a glass of water." And she sat me down and she gave me a glass of water. And I told her, "I promise I'm not going to have a heart attack. I'm not used to it here. The people move so fast." And I mean, she was so kind. She was so sweet to me. And that's just one of many, many examples of, how good they were. And now the
Yep.
stereotype is just wrong. Well, that was my experience anyway.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. It's just wrong, and honestly, I think it always has been wrong.
It's probably like anywhere else. You get what you give. And if you're respectful to folks and you try to be good to them, 9 times out of 10 you're going to get that back, I think.
Yep.
I believe that most people are basically good at heart and trying to do the right thing, as they see.
Yeah, yeah, and of course that's all subjective anyway. I mean,
Oh yeah.
obviously you got to stay within the law, but it's all subjective anyway.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get back to the Writers Hotel a little bit, just to kind of fill our listeners in. The Writers Hotel it's a multi-day conference, and this was just my experience. I'd love to hear your experience, but it's a multi-day conference where you get some pretty intense workshopping, where people will read your piece, which is how I was first exposed to your book, by the way. But people will read your piece, people will, give you feedback, and it's a pretty intense process. But I believe that week back in 2018 did more to help me go from being just a writer to an author than pretty much anything that I've ever experienced.
I would 100% agree with that. I've told them both that I really feel like my career started, my career as a writer, as an author, as a novelist, started with them at the Writers Hotel. I didn't have I maybe 50 pages, I think, of the lodge written at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I sent that to Scott, and I was a late acceptance. I was, if not the last, one of the last people admitted. And Scott just enjoyed the story, and he's like, "Yeah, I'd like to offer you a spot if you want to come." I was like, "Oh yeah, 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 absolutely." And I told him, I was like, "But I don't have the book finished." He said, "Don't tell anybody. Anybody asks, the book is done."
They could have fooled me.
And I was like, "Okay, the book is done. Fine, whatever you say." Which it was done shortly after coming back from the conference, because as you remember, we met all those agents, and you're on such a high, I was just like, I've got to get this done. I've got to get this, out to these agents. You know, I've got to get it going. They're waiting on. And
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, been there, done that. Been there, done that. That's how I ended up doing a lot of self-publishing.
yeah, how you end up doing it, excuse me?
Self-publishing.
Oh, self-publishing. I don't see that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have something that you want to share and you want to get it out there, uh, there are ways around the gatekeepers. And uh, unfortunately, most of us don't have last names of King or Rowling or Kuntz or what have you, and
You really had to bring him up, didn't you? Oh boy.
so we have to do we have to find other paths. We have to find other ways.
Yeah.
I mean, you get enough sales on your own, I'm sure you can get a big five publisher to talk to you. But if you're getting enough sales on your own, why would you worry about it?
Yeah. Yeah. The way I see it, books need to be read. Period. Books need to be read. And the way that it is in 2023, yes, a lot of authors will still send out dozens and dozens and dozens of query letters and get absolutely nowhere, and their dreams just kind of die on the vine. But you've still got people who what's her name? I haven't read any, but Colleen Hoover kind of started it. Kind of started with this. She started with self-publishing and has become just a megastar in that particular market. One of my heroes, David Goggins, self-published his book, and his book was number two, I think number two on the New York bestseller list behind Michelle Obama. So if you've got the right if you've got a compelling enough story, and if you've got a compelling enough book, there's a market for your book. And I've started to build a business around that myself, but there's a market for that kind of book. These books need to be read.
How many billions of people are on the planet? Some of them are going to like your stuff.
Absolutely.
And as far as that goes, if you're a writer, or not just a writer, but a musician, artist, whatever, and you've got that desire in you to produce, one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to be consumed by what you're trying to do, and it'll be all you think about and all you're working on, and you won't take no for an answer, or it's going to chase you off. I mean, one of those two things will happen. If you're where you're supposed to be, you know it. And you won't feel right doing anything else. I got a whole line of careers that that didn't work because that's not what I was supposed to be doing.
Yes.
And if you've got that voice in you, and it needs to get out, it will get out. And you'll do whatever path you need to take to get it out and get it heard. Like I
Not
said,
agree
or
more.
it'll chase you off. And
Yeah. Exactly. As you were saying that, couldn't help but wonder how many brilliant artists, not just writers, but musicians, visual artists, how many brilliant artists just got so discouraged by that process of getting their stuff out there, being able to find an audience for there, that they just gave up. And we never really saw that brilliance, that passion that so many people have, and just so much undiscovered potential.
I think it's that number would be astronomical, really.
Yeah.
I think that's why I support indie authors. I support indie musicians. Uh, I share music, I share books, I share, uh, I know a few indie filmmakers. I've shared, their films. Because we need to lift each other up. I can't stand somebody that gets a little bit of success and feels like they need to jerk the ladder up behind them. Like I did this, and now you can't come with me, because no, I
No, dude, that's just karma 101 right there.
I I've had it happen. I've had writers uh, that have actually chastised me for befriending them and talking to them, and uh, trying to get something going that would be mutual beneficial. You can't have free marketing. Well, that's not really what I'm looking for, but last I checked, you're not on the bestseller list, and we can help each other out. So let's do that. That's what I absolutely love about my publisher and the writers that are there at Wicked House. Uh, MJ, Andrew, uh, David Blaine, or David Blair rather. Blaine David's gonna be mad that I messed his name up. Uh, Joe, all of them, and Nick. Uh, we all support and push each other's material, and all of us are members of, these various groups, and all of us are, when you find somewhere it's like, hey, put a link up and promote your link. Uh, sometimes I'll point directly at myself. Sometimes I'll point toward the publisher. Say, hey, there's lots of authors here that you can look at, and if you enjoy our kind of thing, take your pick, go nuts.
Totally, because you don't know which of those up and coming authors, you don't know which of those are going to be the next, Stephen King and the next J.K. Rowling. You don't know which one of those, or musician, you don't know which one of those is going to be the next, I don't know, BB King. You don't know until you know, you know?
Yeah, well, and until it all plays out, but I really believe that, to get a little cliche here, that the rising tide lifts all boats. And what are we on this earth for if not to help each other?
Yeah.
I mean, if the dreams came true and I became, the next king or whatever, I would hope that I would maintain the integrity to, still help people, to still give those struggling authors, artists, whatever, the bump that might get them over, whatever hump they're facing, and get them rolling. I mean, I would hate to turn into that guy that, wants to pull the ladder up behind him and say, I worked and I did the thing, and now nobody else can go this way.
Yeah, that does not make sense to me. That really does not make sense to me, because even the even the guy who pulls the ladder out from under somebody else started where you are now.
And that's my point. Everybody starts at the bottom, and we're all trying to work our way up.
Yes.
Uh, 5 years ago, I was just putting this one particular story together. And now it's being released to the world. And that's not because of just my effort alone. I mean, I never quit. I mean, there's no backup plan here. I mean, the plan is success. But there have been so many people that have helped and believed and lifted me up and said, stick with it. Don't stop. Keep going. You got something here. So many people that, I mean, they didn't have to do that. So I have to believe that, they're right, and I'm trying my damnedest to justify their faith. I mean, from Scott and Shanna, to, good folks at the Writers Hotel that I met, to, all these struggling indie authors that I've met along the way. Even even down to my mother, who's, without a doubt the biggest fan, the first fan. But we're all still in there working together.
Yeah. It's like, do you really have to write about this kind of stuff? You're great at it, but do you really have to write about this kind of stuff?
Well, we had a family member, and I'm not gonna go into details on it. But this person told my mother that they were very proud that I was publishing a book, but they would not allow the type of book that I was publishing in their house. But they would not allow that kind of material. So I took that and turned it into a promo. It'll be in the HWA's newsletter this upcoming month.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
You got to have thick skin and just don't quit. Don't listen to them. Don't stop. If you believe in you and keep on it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I've got a buddy of mine who is trying to make a career in hip hop. And I remember talking to him one time about this. And hip hop's not my thing, but I certainly admired his passion. And I said that to him. Then he looked at me and said, Ryan, if I don't believe in myself, nobody's going to believe in me.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, it's so very true that even if even if your art doesn't resonate with somebody, there's going to be somebody out there that it resonates with wholeheartedly.
I mean, it's like I said earlier, how many billions of people are on the planet?
Yeah.
I mean, there's enough market share for everybody.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've met some authors that they write things that personally I'm not real into. I'm not a huge fan of like splatterpunk or like gore focused horror. It's just not for me. But that doesn't mean that the folks that are out there writing there's not an audience for them. There absolutely is. I mean, I was really kind of surprised to discover how large an audience there was, and what a following some of these guys actually had.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's totally true. Again, you don't know until you know.
And there, I don't see a reason to snub anybody that's out there working. Anybody that's out there on their grind, on their hustle, and they're sticking with it. Those people deserve support. They've earned some, a little bit of help, a little bit of attention. And those artists that really believe in themselves, they don't quit until they get it. Which that's also a beautiful thing to see.
Because
there's a musician. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
There's a musician that I follow. I'm one of maybe 600 people that follow this guy. The name of the group is Jane. I'm gonna give him a little shout out. He's fantastic. Guy just keeps at it, doesn't quit. Yesterday I got notifications that he popped out 3 more songs, and go. Don't stop, keep at it.
Absolutely. It's kind of a perfect segue to talk about what else I wanted to ask you about. One of the things, just speaking of the craft of writing here, one of the things I've always admired about you is that you have said that you write upwards of 10,000 words a day. Now, that has always been just kind of mind blowing for me, because I feel like I overthink and craft so much of what I write that it ends up being just kind of paralyzing me sometimes. And I'm just staring at a blinking cursor for an hour. And you, what, what does that practice for you help to open up for your stories? Because I mean, obviously, all 10,000
Well,
words are not going to be good, but what does that open up for you?
well, I'll say that it's not all golden. I mean, it's really not. But it's also not every day I'm producing that kind of material. Lately, I've been trying to market this book, and there hasn't been a lot of time for writing, which I'm missing. I want to get back to it. I've got stories buzzing around that they won't leave me alone. But it might be 5,000 words here, and then 2,000 words on something else, and then 3,000 words. Yeah, I jump around. From, like, if I'm not feeling one story, then I'll go to something else. I write several at a time, and I do that really just to keep myself motivated. Like I said, it's not all golden. I could tell you, my first book that I wrote, I haven't published it. I probably never will. My first book is a sort of a memoir, but there's a lot of stuff that if I don't make up, I just outright lie about. But as I'm rolling through the story, it was pointed out to me, I use the word that over and over and over and over and over and over. Just, I mean, oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. You know, and that's just writing and getting it out and not reading what you're doing or paying attention to what's happening. And then, you know, my wife, my ex-wife, now, uh, she was reading and she looked up at me and she started reading out loud. She was like that. Okay.
Yeah. Point taken, hon.
Yeah. So I'm much more aware now of my crutch words, and I try to avoid them. But you know, there's times when you just need to get it out, you know, and that's what I do. You know, I mean, when I'm writing, when I'm into it, it's a movie that plays in my head, and I'm watching the film and I'm trying to record what I see just as fast as I can. And I'm trying to catch all the details, and it doesn't always happen. And sometimes you need to use a bunch of that's just to get through the scene, so you get everything captured that you want to get a hold of. But then you go back and you fix it. You know, I mean, I'm merciless when it comes to that too. When it comes to editing, especially my own stuff, uh, you know, I've been known to delete 5,000 word chunks. You know, I've been known to just like, this is awful, I'm cutting this whole bit. Uh, I got a vampire story that uh, I rewrote the beginning of it. And when I say the beginning, I mean the first 80 pages or so. I've rewritten that beginning 7 times now. And I'm finally happy with where it's at. You know, but I mean, it's like I said, it's not all golden. You know, you put something down, and you know, you might come back and look at it. And I find that time is also something that helps. You know, having time between projects, so you come back and look at an older project and be like, ooh, no, this is just no. You know, or you might come back and look and be like, this is amazing. You know, I'm brilliant.
Indeed. Indeed. You might find that like 1 or 2 paragraphs are like, okay, most of this sucks, but these 2 paragraphs I can really expand
You know,
and turn it
and
into
you
some
might come
scroll.
across something like that where you know, from a couple paragraphs spawns a whole new something else.
Indeed. Indeed. You know, as you were sharing that, I flashed on one of my favorite stories from is from the memoir from Greg Allman when he first came to the first Allman Brothers band rehearsal. Dwayne wanted him to bring some songs for them to work up some original material, and that I think he brought like 12 to 15 songs, something like that. Most of them were like, no, this stinks, let's move on. No, this stinks, let's move on. But they ended up using 2 that ended up, hey, this has got potential. And those songs ended up becoming, honestly, my 2 favorite songs off of their debut album, Whipping Post and Dreams. So there's, like you say, they're not all going to be gold, but there is going to be gold in amongst you know, in amongst the dirt.
Yeah, it hidden in the hash and trash, you know, you might find something worth keeping. You know,
Absolutely.
it happens.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, don't be so critical of yourself. You know, when you're, especially when you're behind the keyboard and you're, uh, you know, you're putting the thoughts down. Uh, don't overthink it. You know, I mean, uh, I know lots of writers that just, you know, they'll write a sentence and then they'll, no, let me go back and fix that. And then they'll, you know, change a few words. And let me go back and well, just write the scene. Just do the scene, get it done, and then go back and put the shine on. You know, I mean, especially as an indie writer, you know, I don't really have deadlines right now. You know, I can shine up a project all I want to. You know, I can find my uh, beta readers and see what they think. And uh, I know an absolutely brilliant editor in West Virginia, and she is ruthless, but she is marvelous. Uh, you know, hey Chelsea, what do you think about this? Uh, yeah, I mean, you'll have time to polish is the point. You know, I mean, don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah, because you can overthink yourself out of gold. You can overthink yourself out of magic, and that's a total note to self as Ryan, the writer here. You can totally overthink yourself out of just really finding gold in something that you didn't think was possible.
And you can absolutely kill that vibe too. You know,
Yes,
that
absolutely.
mood, that rhythm that you need to get into as a writer. That's uh, I have a mechanical keyboard, uh, and I have a mechanical keyboard instead of a membrane because I love the rich, clackety, springy keys. And as you're rolling along and you get those clacks rolling and it's clicking, you just get into this rhythm and oh, it's beautiful. It's zen-like.
Yeah, then like I like that. Well, let's shift gears and talk about the lodge a little bit. This little book thing that you've got coming out today. Tell us a little bit about that. What's that all about?
Well, it came about. I was taking my children to school, and we drove by this old, dilapidated bed and breakfast. A sign out front said Maple Lodge. You know, the uh, porch was rotten and sagging, and the building was just old. And I mean, there's a carriage house, just scary looking. You know, and I thought to myself driving by it, I was like, "Man, that looks like the devil's bed and breakfast." And poof, story born. You know, and I dropped the kids off and I came home and I started to write, and it was just it was all there waiting on me. You know, and I had to rush back out because I got into that zone. And the next thing I knew, it was time to go pick the kids up from school. And and I had to hustle back out the door. So we got there. It was fine. It was
Oh, good.
fine. Uh, but yeah, this is a story in a fanciful version of the town that I live in. You know, Stephen King has his Castle Rock.
Yep.
I have Summit Valley. You know, and the people that live in this area will absolutely uh, recognize some of the landmarks and some of the roads, and you know, they're little Easter eggs in for the locals. You know, just you know,
Oh, I
giving
do it too.
Southwest Virginia some love.
Yep.
Uh, but uh, this town uh, is built around the lodge. The lodge is built around this fireplace. The fireplace is a gateway to hell. And this demon has crawled out of the gateway and has turned the town into his larder, if you will. And for several hundred years, everything is under control and he's the boss, and everybody knows that, don't mess with Solomon. Bad things happen at the Maple Lodge. And then Solomon meets a black widow on the run. Her name is Shirley. And Shirley is a just complete psychopath, completely beyond anything he can possibly hope to control. And being Solomon, he attempts to control her, and that's when he starts to lose his grip on the town. All the things that he kept neat and order. I don't want to give too much away.
Of course not.
But
You want people to buy it.
As he loses control, things begin happening. People begin rebelling. They stop listening to him, and it's a wild ride. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, I don't want to get. I could really just go on for hours and just give the whole book away, and I try not to do that. But the story is basically between the dynamic between Shirley and Solomon, and how that affects Solomon and the town. And I've got a light going absolutely berserk over here. I don't know if you can see the flickering.
Yeah, we can certainly pick that up.
Well,
Maybe that's Solomon.
It could be, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just tried to tighten the light bulb and it didn't want to work, so it's gonna strobe at me. I don't want to get up and turn it off.
Oh.
I guess we'll suffer through. Is it bad? I can't really tell on mine.
No, we're fine. We're fine. We're fine. Yeah, no, definitely it's definitely a vibe. It's definitely a vibe. There's a, it's not too blood and gutsy, but there's also some element there that just, it kind of has to be.
Well, I try to mix in a fair amount of humor, because if it's just intense, gore, scary, monster, bad things over, and there's nothing to lighten the mood, to me that seems like it'd be kind of an oppressive read.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate, a little bit of humor here and there, even if it's dark humor. And there's some dark humor in it. But I think that there's a nice balance between fun and scary. Is it going to be accepted into the great canon of literature? No, it's not. It's popcorn. It's fun. A good beach read, a good, break from really the scary that we deal with every day.
Right.
And I said it's popcorn, but people like popcorn.
Indeed, indeed. Popcorn is fun until that stuff gets stuck in your teeth.
Yeah, well, hopefully that doesn't happen.
No, let's hope not. Let's hope not. Well, I know you've been working on this for really as long as I've known you, and just to really see this come to fruition like this, you must be really proud of just where this thing has come, and how it's been received, even in early previews.
Yeah, we're getting fairly positive reviews from our advanced reader copies, or our advanced readers rather. Uh, I'm averaging 4 stars out of 5. I can live with that. I'm proud of it. It's an absolute dream come true to be able to call myself not just a writer anymore, but a novelist and an author. I mean, that's huge. I mean, that's a lifelong goal that's been met. It's incredible. And I'm so grateful to Patrick and all the good folks out at Wicked House Publishing. My fellow authors there that, have helped given me encouragement, and we keep each other rolling. I mean, imposter syndrome is a real thing. And it's good to have
Telling
people
me.
around to say, this is not imposter syndrome. You're good at what you do, and your story should be out there. I mean, that's as an artist, you can't hear anything better than that.
You really can't. You really can't. And how can people find a copy of it today?
Let me see. We're on Amazon. Physical copies will be available, I think, a week after. So next week sometime. Let me see. Today's the 28th. So probably around the 4th of next month, we'll have physical copies ready, and they'll be really anywhere you want to buy books.
Beautiful.
Amazon, Kindle. I'm working to get it into the Borders, or the Barnes and Noble here.
Right.
And as there's more demand for it, I mean, we can put it more places. But I've got lots of little bookstores all across the country that are waiting for it, which is just mind blowing, absolutely
Yeah.
mind blowing.
Got it. Just still got to be surreal, huh?
It is. It is. I had a girl in Canada asked me if I could send her a signed copy, and that's the first time anyone has asked me for an autograph. Like outside of friends and family. Just
Sure.
a stranger. Can I please have a signed copy? Wow. Sure.
That's
So
that's
one way or another, I'm gonna get that lady a book.
absolutely, absolutely. And when you're trying to establish yourself as an artist, as an author in this world, is those little moments that you hold on to and never let go. So that's got to be fun.
Well, those are the ones you have to hold on to, because uh, there's plenty of naysayers out there. There's plenty of folks out there that won't believe you, or think you can't, or you're not capable, or whatever. But you gotta hold in your heart, I can do this. I'm gonna do this. This is what's happening. I'm gonna put this song out. I'm gonna put this book out. I'm gonna get this story printed. I'm gonna do this thing that, I'm gonna get this role in the play, or a part of the movie, or whatever. I'm gonna do this thing they say can't be done. And do it, enjoy it, love it every second. And all those folks that said, no, you can't, you're not capable, they'll come around. Or they won't. And hell with them.
There you go. It's like a mentor of mine once said, why not you?
And that's the attitude you got to keep. Why not you?
Indeed.
You can do it. I can do it. And all the rest of you folks out there that want to have that voice, have that drive, you can do it too.
Well, this has been a fun conversation, my friend. Again, The Lodge is out today. You can get it on Amazon or wherever you can find books. Jeremy Eads, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
And I just got to say, this has been my first podcast, and it has been an absolute delight. Thank you, Ryan.
My pleasure. And that'll do it for this episode of the Solar Powered Podcast, a presentation of Royal Hearts Media. For more information about Royal Hearts Media, just go to my new website, royalheartsmedia.com. Follow me on the social media machine at Ryan Hall Writes on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Or you just shoot me a good old-fashioned email at royalheartscoaching@gmail.com. That'll do it for this episode. When we meet again, this is Ryan Hall saying thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and so long for now, and go get solar powered.